Welcome back once again to Sonic and Mario Tidbits. I'm Skull902, and before we get into the meat of the video, there's a Season 4 fact I forgot to mention. I had it so that the Chaos Emeralds our heroes collect along the way correlate to the main 4 of the season. Green for Luigi, yellow for Tails, red for Mario, and blue for Sonic. So anyway, we're looking at Season 5, the final one of the show, and man did it take a while to get here. The original version of this season had 14 episodes and would have been a big old crossover between a bunch of different game series, which is where the scrapped Captain N plot of Season 3 would have led to. Slightly rewritten after that was canned, the big crossover plot remained until I decided to cancel the series in 2013. 4 years later, I rewrote the ending to give it a less rushed feeling, more closure and references to earlier episodes, with episode 36 to end Season 4 and 37 to 40 comprising the 5th and final season. It was delayed by a year for reasons I'll discuss in the next video, but over the second half of 2020, I was able to finally conclude the series after years of delay. Let's take a dive into it, shall we?
I guess it wouldn't hurt to let our group get introduced to each other like we did before. Any excuse for the director to have his little characters on screen is possible, eh? 11 years and still just as lazy.
This is a little reference to my personal policy on Sprite videos. If the characters speak, then they're on frame. If they're not, most of the time they're off frame. So that's what this is referencing here.
First of all, we're taking over the world, not just our own base. And secondly, could you not plan on betraying me after we get the emeralds?
Okay.
Well, that was easy.
Rabbit needed to re-record the "that was easy" line, and he did it like a year after doing the lines originally, so that's why the microphone sounds a bit different between there. I just think that it's interesting that, you're hearing Rabbit in 2019 for most of this episode, and then Rabbit in 2020 for just this one line, but that's why the sound of the microphone changed.
Why, Ronald!
Well, Roland and I were kinda talking, and we kinda hate our bosses, so, yeah!
So these two characters here, Ronald and Roland, are a bit of a reference to an in-joke that Rabbit and I have about the 1970s Hanna-Barbera Godzilla cartoon, where we just kind of decided at some point that all of the human characters in the main cast were just terribly unremarkable and named them all Ronald. So it's a reference, and that's what it's referring to.
Stop right there, fiends! Oh no, it's Sonic, acting out of character!
Find out as Season 5 of Sonic and Mario continues.
Okay, so Tails is voiced in this episode, Ripple Effect, and the rest of the series by someone who I'm not going to be mentioning. They were an associate of another cast member here that I will also not be mentioning. And they sent in an audition, essentially, when I asked them after seeing like some of their other voice work, like, hey, can you do Tails? And I liked what I heard, thought that they had the range to do it and everything, and so I had them do voice work for not just Sonic and Mario, but plenty of my videos, and that's all I'll say about that. So this one had a bit of an interesting writing history. I came up with the idea of the episode, but I was like, okay, Rabbit, here is the basic idea of what I need. I'd like you to write the script, because I think that you can do something nice and wacky and fun. He turned it in, but there were some continuity errors and snafus and stuff in there, so I had to, make sure that all of that was in line with the series, and I had fun replicating his writing style for certain things. Like, there are some lines that I forget that I wrote as opposed to what he wrote, because I was trying to match what I thought that he would do while revising his script, so it was just a really fun process all around.
We've been being chased down by a couple of maniacs.
They're on a murderous rampage and probably plan on stealing our brains for some sick experiment!
Even more new VAs. So this time around, SBO is voiced by that earlier person I mentioned that I will not mention by name. And Charmy is voiced by Kate LB, who was in sort of like the same voice acting circle around the time. Just a couple of people that I thought would make sense for these roles. Kate was recommended to me, and I knew this other person by working with them before. And that's why the Chaotix are, for the most part, not voiced by their usual actors for this one. Ames was absent and busy, and I really didn't like the SBO voice that I was using for Sonic and Mario at the time, so those are the reasons behind the recastings as well.
All because they want my chocolate bar!
Then they lob sticks of butter at our house.
Probably the reason why they want my chocolate bar.
These here are two examples of jokes, again, that I thought that Rabbit wrote, but upon remembering, I'm like, oh shit, I wrote those. Again, I just tried to match his style, and I guess it worked on my brain. I gaslit myself into thinking that he wrote these.
Did somebody say Bruce?
Rabbit is also the new voice of Scratch, because, dear God, I could not replicate what I did for Scratch back when I was 15 years old. I have damaged my throat to a point where I don't think that I would be able to do that voice with consistency, make it sound the same, make it sound any good. But Rabbit has, like, an iron esophagus or something, because he was able to do the Scratch voice not only better than me, but with absolutely no trouble whatsoever. So I'm very thankful that he stepped in and gave in a really fun performance as Scratch, because had I done it, it would not have turned out nearly as good.
Great! So are we good now?
Yes, I like it. It's pretty
I
fun.
like
What
cigarettes.
did you say,
Give me
everybody
my
else? This is fun.
For this part, I just told the actors to improvise whatever they wanted to, say about, the terms of agreement between the Chaotix and Scratch and Grounder over the Chaos Emerald. And I knew when I was writing my portion of the script that Grounder is absolutely going to mention the cigarettes. That's a reference to the Sonic Says PSA in Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog. Give me my smokes! I fucking love that one, so of course I had to make a reference to it.
You guys just want to tag along with us instead, since we're looking to foil their plans anyway?
Okay, that works.
And so, Scratch and Grounder are now a part of Sonic and Mario's team for the time being, and the reason why that is because, as I mentioned in the Season 1 Tidbits video, Scratch and Grounder were originally meant to be regular characters in the series, and as I was writing this season, I was like, I think we need some closure for these two, so I thought that putting them in the plot here, especially since, it's time travel that takes place during Season 1, that it would make the most sense to have them in, so, they're a part of the team, and they'll continue this association with our heroes into the next episode.
Why do we always stand around to say stuff like that? Wouldn't it be more productive to say, oh look, an emerald is close while we're moving along? I don't know, that's just how we've always done it.
Here I am poking a little fun at myself for my comic book panel style of animation. We never see them walking along, so that's, of course, why they don't do as Mario suggested. So yeah, just another fun little reference, poking fun at myself and how I animated the series.
Excuse me, are you fellers Mario and Sonic? Wonderful. Get 'em.
Aw, yeah, Monty Mole makes his appearance. His voice might sound a little unusual, but oddly fitting for a Monty Mole. And that's another reference to an in-joke. I think that I had made it publicly known by the time that this episode came out, but as far as background is concerned, Rabbit Josh and I were doing a playthrough of the original Paper Mario on Skype back in 2015, and we get to the area with the Monty Moles and stuff in the desert, and as they're throwing rocks at Mario and his party, I'm just like, get off my property, have a rock, stuff like that, and they thought it was hilarious. So Monty Mole became like this really gruff southerner in our eyes, and I knew that with the opportunity that arose in these final episodes to include something like that, a reference to it, that I absolutely had to have the gruff southern Monty Mole in there somewhere, so that's where that comes from.
Mario and Sonic? Sounds so odd that way. But yes, we are.
Now, this is a joke that I kind of had been holding in for like the last 13 years prior to this episode coming out. Sonic and Mario just always sounded more natural to me, but you look at, like, say, the Olympic Games titles, and it's always Mario and Sonic. Mario and Sonic, Mario and Sonic. So, in my brain, I'm just always like, well, that sounds a little weird. So I thought that it would be funny to, put that in the show since it's called Sonic and Mario.
You know, this is really neat and all, but why have we decided to take refuge in one of our enemies' lairs?
Because the director wanted to include one new locale before the series ends.
Scratch is pretty much on the money here. I wanted to include a new location in the series, and I thought that Ocean Base from Sonic Advance 3 was just a really nice looking background with, like, the, blue underwater, look through the window and everything. I just thought it was cool. So I wanted that in there, and the excuse is that Eggman had an unfinished underwater base somewhere, and that's why it's in the show. Now, I didn't use the music from Ocean Base. I instead used the aquatic base music from Sonic 06, and the reason why that is because I really fucking love that song. So it's one of the few times that I didn't match the background to like the actual music from that location in whatever game it's from. I just love Aquatic Base so much as a song, and Ocean Base here as an aesthetic that I put the two together and all that. Considering the way that Eggman abandoned his original base and our heroes broke through it with Tails as BFG in Season 4, actually, had I thought about it back then, this would have been a cool idea to use as, like, Eggman and Bowser's base in, like, the original Season 5. So, the explanation that it's unfinished at the time of Season 1 is actually, it works out pretty well, in my opinion.
Well, considering how you've been acting...
That's offensive, so thank you.
This is admittedly one of my favorite lines I ever wrote for the show. Not only is it just a fantastic sentence all on its own, but I think I nailed the delivery as Grounder here. One of the few times I'll hype up my own voice acting, but I think it just worked out pretty great.
I got it. Close! Close, but not really.
This exchange actually was a holdover from Rabbids episode 38 script. It was just such a good couple of lines that I knew that I had to use them in the next episode, and contextually speaking, it worked. So I was like, alright, I'm not going to scrap this. I'm using it in episode 39, and I found a great way to do it, so Rabbids bit from the previous episode was saved for this one.
Oh no! An ambush!
That's right. Now you guys are going down.
So here with the title card addressing the skipped fight scene, it's got some foreshadowing as to what's going to happen in episode 40. I always wanted to do this as well, with the very last skipped fight to just be like, why are we always skipping these? Can't we do an actual fight? Something like that. So, again, just some subtle foreshadowing I thought would be fun to put in there.
Also, the Chaos Emerald was right behind this bush. How were we so blind back then?
And once again, we have another instance of our heroes missing a very easy-to-spot emerald in the first season, which Sonic and Mario then recover. Just, again, I thought that it would be a fun gag to put in there and whatnot.
Well, Scratch, I look very forward to opening up that seafood restaurant with you.
I think this is the beginning of a beautiful life for the two of us.
Well, would you look at that? The boulder from episode 13 returns here, and I guess all the wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey stuff going on has made it so that the boulder was discharged early from the Iraq War and able to come back home in time to crush Scratch and Grounder as they were just about to fulfill their dreams of opening a restaurant together. So, a beautiful ending for all the characters involved.
You'll have to stay tuned to find out on the series finale of Sonic and Mario.
I always planned on bookending the Find Out Next Time narrations with Mario and Sonic. So in the first episode it's Sonic, in the second episode it's Mario, and what I originally meant for was the last two episodes before the finale to be Mario and then Sonic. But then I had Scratch and Grounder do the next time narration on episode 38, so I was like, oh shit, I can't do that now. So they share the duties here. But, I think that works out in a way. And so here we are, the finale of Sonic and Mario, episode 40. This one is the longest in the series at 14 minutes and 21 seconds, which is actually, fun fact, longer than all of Season 3 by a couple of minutes. So, isn't that just wild? This one I was actually pretty happy with. So, the Sonic and Mario that we've been following from the first episode all the way to now, I call it the Season 4 timeline. We've got them looking a little different in this one, and that's because I explained in the first Tidbits video how I made the first episode in Windows Vista Movie Maker, and that version of Movie Maker messed with the colors a bit. So I thought when I was preparing to make this episode that it would be really cool if I could get Sonic and Mario looking like that again. So I was able to find and download a copy of Windows Vista Movie Maker, find the right colors and everything, and make a recolor of their sprite sheets with the appropriate colors. And I think that, it's a nice throwback to episode 1, and makes sense in universe as well. I never had an explanation for it before, so here we go now. In universe, the canon reason for why they look like this. It's because they're starting to fade with everything changing around them. They're changing the course of history. So I think that the changed colors are an indication that they are about to fade out of existence.
Here again? This place is so overused.
This is a reference to how Twinkle Snow Zone tended to be used for big scenes and confrontations and whatnot in the series. And it was really just accidental. I guess I just like this background a lot. Winter is a very good aesthetic in my opinion, but I do think it's pretty versatile. Like, you can make it wide, you can make it short, and whatnot. I didn't exactly do it the best way, but that's neither here nor there. I just think that it's a good background in the way that you can do things with it, the way it looks and whatnot, so I just kind of tended to go back there a lot.
Well, time to find a nice place to sleep out here in the unforgiving cold.
This is a reference to how Sonic slept away from everyone else in the firewood in episode 4 for reasons unknown. And I'm also actually using my older Sonic voice that I used back then for this episode as well. And thankfully it wasn't too hard to record, because that voice in particular, as I got older, became far more fickle. So I'm glad I was able to do it without much problem in the recording process for this one.
Some shit went down in the future, and we decided it'd be better to travel back in time to prevent it from happening.
This line was the last one that I ever recorded for the series, and the reason why was because it was originally written in a way that contextually didn't make sense, and I didn't catch on to it until I was editing the episode. It was originally some shit went down in the past, whereas the whole situation started in what would have been the future at this point in time. So I just quickly changed that and recorded it and everything. It's also the strongest vocal profanity in the show, so there's that.
As you wish.
Attack!
There is a lot to talk about with this fight scene, so, please do excuse me. The Buzz Bombers coming in as an indicator of the following fight scene, I thought that would be a really cool wow moment, oh my god, there's motion here, holy shit. Before the fight scene actually kicks in. So that's why that's there, really. The fight itself took me about half a month to animate, and I'm not about to claim that I'm, an Alvin Earthworm or a lot of these other Flash sprite animators that have made their way on YouTube in the years since. But I think for someone who had very little experience, that it was serviceable for what we got, Some shots look way better than others, though. Like both Sonic's versus Eggman, I really could have put a lot more frames in that one. But overall, it was nice to deliver on the brick joke, and finally have that fight scene in here that the series had been missing this whole time, and do it in a way that made it so that it was the missing fight scene from Season 1, the very first one, the beginning of that whole joke, so it kind of comes around full circle in that way. Amy's victory pose in her first shot here had to be redone, which makes these the final frames made for the show, just the last 3, as she's pumping her fist. The sprite sheet I had before, like, cut the fist off for whatever reason, and I was like, this doesn't look right. And so I looked around, found, like, a proper sprite sheet for that, and just quickly fixed it up. So these are the last frames ever made for the show. These last 3 here in this shot. Yoshi transforming into his more suitable Yoshi's Island sprite was actually a joke that my little brother and I came up for the original fight scene. So I'm glad that I was able to put it in here, because it had lingered in my mind for so long, and so it was nice to execute that one as well.
For Bobby!
Another brick joke here, we get to find out what happened to Mike the Burrowbot, dedicating his efforts to his fallen friend Bobby, whereupon he gets just quickly sliced through and is never heard from again. So that's what happened to him in the original, and again, that's another thing that I wanted to have in the original episode 5 fight scene that I finally got to, put in here. So just some more closure to some of the bits that I had set up before. Rouge's kick barely connects here. It's unfortunate because I kind of had to do that because her sprite would have obscured the enemy too much, I think was the problem. So when she delivers this little kick, it does touch, it just barely does. So I guess the grasshopper bot was just extremely weak, getting destroyed by a love tap. One of my favorite shots in the fight scene is this one with Amy and Charging Chuck. This one is a reference to the baseball episode of Sonic X, and I thought that it would make a nice visual gag as well. Amy batting the baseball way out and then smashing Charging Chuck with her hammer. So just a fun one and a nice little reference to Sonic X as well. Then we have the 2 Marios against Bowser, and this is probably actually my favorite shot. Not only because I think I made nice use of just being able to repeat Bowser's fireball and the Marios jumping over him, but I also just liked, referencing how the boss fights in Mario 1 went, with the axe and everything, and trying to mimic the death animation with Bowser as well. So I thought that was just really fun, and this shot turned out like probably among the best of the ones I did for the fight scene.
Hey, Sonic!
Okay, the emeralds are safe. What was he gonna say? Something stupid, don't worry about it.
This whole bit about Mario punching Eggman and Sonic telling past Sonic that Eggman was gonna say something stupid, that's an acknowledgement of regret for the original joke that I had in the Season 1 finale. Just another way to say I'm sorry for that.
I was thinking we could have all sorts of adventures together. We could have, I don't know, made an evil clone of Sonic, a big magnet for the Chaos Emeralds, orchestrated some big kidnapping plot to nab the emeralds more easily and take over the world with a giant robot. But now that you aren't going to be around, I might as well never do any of those things.
And so the history of the series is now completely rewritten, with Eggman dismissing any of the ideas that would have made up the plots for later seasons. Another music track that I absolutely love is what plays during the credits in Sonic Adventure 2, and I thought that this would be a good piece for all the characters like saying goodbye, and particularly the Season 4 timeline versions of Mario and Sonic saying goodbye to each other, after all they'd been throughout the series. So just a beautiful, beautiful song that I thought would match the finality of everything going on here.
Despite the short amount of time you spent with us, I think I'll miss you a lot, Yoshi.
We knew them for like a day. Are you really that worked up over it?
Well, Knuckles, you could help me forget.
Stop that. Stop that right now.
Fine.
This, of course, calls back to Rouge's reaction to meeting Yoshi in Episode 2, and we get the resolution to Rouge's personality problem by having Knuckles convince her to change early. So, there we go.
Farewell, Sonic. Goodbye, Mario. And thank you.
Sonic and Mario's goodbye here was meant to have them slowly fade out throughout the whole thing, but Vegas just was not agreeing with that. By the time that they were done, by the time they were halfway done, like, you couldn't even see them on the screen, so I delayed the fade to, like, very late in the whole thing. It's like their final 2 lines. If I were to do it today, and in fact if Sonic and Mario Remastered ever gets made, I know of a way that I can do it and have it, like, retain the original intention. So if I ever get the chance to re-edit this, it'll look a lot better than it ended up being in the original episode.
Sonic! Tails!
What is it, guys?
Eggman's attacking the city.
Another unresolved loose end by the time travel hijinks was what exactly happened to Shadow, so I put him in the present here to show that they still reunited with him, somewhere down the line.
Mario! Luigi!
What's going on, Toad?
Bowser's kidnapped the princess!
It's amazing to me that Toad never appeared in the series, so I thought, alright, we're gonna have him debut here, because obviously this is like the last chance. So I know that Rabbit can do an incredible Toad voice, and so I put him in here not only so that Rabbit could show it off, but so that we could have Toad in here somewhere as well, because, you know, he's one of the main Mario crew. He deserves to be in here as well.
Even after their time together, our heroes continue to work tirelessly to keep their respective worlds safe.
Here we see an ellipsis in the narrator's portion as opposed to question marks, since the story is over. This is another detail that I had thought of years in advance. I was like, okay, so it shouldn't be question marks, since, you know, the story's done, what should it be? And I thought that, you know, ... would, you know, make it pretty apparent that that this is like the finale and things are wrapping up. Probably the most surprising thing about this episode is just how long it took to edit the credits. So Vegas has like a built-in credits feature, and once it gets to a certain point, it takes a while to actually be able to make changes to the credits and everything, and I wanted to be very thorough with them. I wanted to get everything that I could, you know, all the sprite makers, and, you know, the voice actors, and just everything that was involved in the making of the show. I'm probably missing a couple pieces just because I don't have all of the sprite sheets that I had on my Windows XP computer. I would have to look, but I tried getting every single possible thing that I could in here for the sake of accuracy. And even then, I still managed to miss a credit. I didn't credit myself as Steve, the Koopa Troopa that ironically Bowser forgets the name of in one of the later Season 2 episodes. So, you know, if I was gonna forget any character to credit, that's kind of like the perfect one, isn't it? Although, Steve will be added, again, if Sonic and Mario Remastered ever gets made. This bit at the end here, thank you for giving me the best 11 years of my life, that's another stupid Mario Brothers reference. Mario says it to the house that he and Luigi lived in at the end of the 5th season in that show's series finale. I always thought that was a beautiful line, and I wanted to reference it myself. I actually went out of my way to ask Rich Alvarez and Chris Muller their permission to use the line here, and I was given permission, and that's why Richie and Chris have a special thanks credit as well. So once again, Richie, Chris, thank you for giving me permission to use that, and it just means a lot to me that I was able to make that reference with your blessing.
How long have you guys been here? About a year relative time.
This refers to the release date of Sonic and Mario Ripple Effect. It was released on December 29th, 2019. This episode was released on December 26th of the next year. So I thought that, you know, it would be funny to have that be the time difference as well between, you know, the rest of our heroes being in the purgatory here and then Sonic and Mario showing up.
I mean, it's fun doing evil plots and stuff, but the literal fantasy world is nice too.
So long as I've got my pizza, I'm good.
Beautiful. Just beautiful, isn't it? Bowser finally got his pizza after all these years. Just one of the other loose ends that definitely needed to be tied up. So this here about the fantasy world and everything was not originally going to be in the episode. However, I thought that it would be just too depressing to have the original Timelines characters that we had been following throughout the whole series just completely fade out of existence and not be there anymore. So I thought about it and I was like, okay, this makes enough sense that, like, some anomaly in the space-time continuum made this pocket dimension for them because their world doesn't exist anymore. I thought that made enough sense to put in, and puts a nice fond note on the end of the series. I think it came out pretty well and gives us a nice, happy, satisfying note to end on. And that's where the main series ends. KN mentioned on the finale livestream that not a lot of people get to conclude their stories, and I'm thankful that, with the help and support of a lot of fantastic people, I got the chance to finish this one. I think this was about as well of a conclusion as it could have been, with my growth from where things started to how it finished showing. One comment that really stuck with me from that stream was from someone who used to watch the show in its early days, remarking how cringy things were as we were watching Season 2, then saying how improved the show was while the credits for Episode 40 were rolling. I can only hope that anyone else out there feels the same, and that they think the finale was a satisfying one. With that said, the main series might be over, but there's one area I still haven't looked over: the extra material. PSA and Special 1, April Fools 2014, the blooper reels in both of the canon specials. Join me as I tackle all of that in the last installment of Sonic and Mario Tidbits.